So thank you all again for being here. This is the meeting number one of our ECE EDU Advisory Committee. And I'm sorry it's in this mode, but I've we're going to go on and off because I want to see your faces during this. And sometimes I have a hard time getting back. So I'm just going to leave it like this. We're all friends. This is our quick agenda. We will probably go the full time. We have introductions, an overview of the meetings. I'm just gonna, you can just see. You have an opportunity to contribute your voice about anything that's missing or anything that's your priority from your perspective. Your county office, your college, your schools. We've got some different reps here, so you'll learn who they are in a second. And then our priority for today is called sub-regional prioritization, and there's a reason why we're doing that first, um, which I'll go into. And we're going to cover a little bit of legislation to watch. Since you're on summer mode and you have nothing better to do than watch bills go through, right? Okay, and so I'm going to go through this quickly, but not your introductions. So I want to give you time. We have two guests. I think they're both here, or they're going to be shortly. One is Sarah Goldware, and she is from BACCC, and she's going to be contributing later on in the agenda. And then Sharon Zimmerman. Sharon, are you here? Yeah. She'll be joining shortly, and she's a K-16 rep for the K-16 Collaborative, and she's also helping me with this effort. And I thought it'd be good to for her to include some of the K-16 collaborative goals because some of them overlap. And she's working in this region specifically for San Francisco State, but she stays on top of the other K-16 activities. So hopefully I will see both of those folks when they join. They're on later on the agenda. And Tina, I think you're here. Do you want to start off with a quick introduction?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I think I know almost everyone
Yeah.
here. Tina Watts, Skyline College, faculty, and I coordinate the early childhood apprenticeship program at Skyline College, which serves San Mateo County.
Great. Thank you, Tina. Kim.
Hello, everyone. Kim Sakamoto Steidel. I'm with Early Childhood Education and Education departments at Cabrillo College, and I also coordinate ECE EDU apprenticeship.
Thank you. And you're a founding member of the Bridge Initiative too with Launch Network. So great. Thanks, Kim. Hillary from the
Yeah,
airport.
I know. So I'm leaving a conference. So I laugh at summer mode, not yet.
Not yet.
So Hillary Dito, Contra Costa County Office of Education, the Contra Costa County Regional Occupational Program, ROP. And we have also the a pre-apprenticeship program and an apprenticeship program in early childhood education with our dual enrollment at Contra Costa College and Las Modas.
Thank you. Alice.
Hi everyone. I'm Alice Hale. I'm ECD Early Childhood Development faculty at Chabot College in Hayward. We've got an apprenticeship program, and we also have a pre-apprenticeship program that we're launching in the fall with with ROP in two different high schools. And I'm also president of ACTEP, the Association of California Community College Teacher Education Programs, and I worked on K-16 too.
Great. Thank you, Alice. Melise.
Hello, everyone. Melise Warner. I'm the Director of Early Childhood Education at Santa Rosa Junior College. I oversee the Child Development Teacher Education area and our lab school and our apprenticeship programs. And we are hoping to move towards pre-apprenticeship very soon. And we're looking at the dual enrollment we've been doing at the high schools along with our adult ed bilingual pathway.
Great. You'll soon learn that everyone on this committee is extremely busy, and that's why you've been chosen. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Tracy Burt.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tracy Burt from City College of San Francisco. I coordinate our para apprenticeship in early childhood, elementary, and special education. And I was also on the K-16 pathway grant this last couple of years, and I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. Anthony.
Hi, everyone. Good to see familiar faces. I'm Tony Ayala from I'm full-time faculty at Solano Community College in Child Development and Family Studies. I'm also the Vice President of Public Policy for California Community College Early Childhood Educators, as well as the co-lead of an organization called PEACH, which is a cross-collaborative between community colleges and four-year institutions across the state. Good to see everyone.
Good to see you. Thank you. Joya.
Yes, hello everyone. It's such a joy to see you all this afternoon. One of my favorite meetings during our summers off. Definitely off, friends. I am the full-time faculty lead for our apprenticeship programming here at Berkeley City College. We too have a pre-apprenticeship with our adult ed in our local high school, as well as a early educator apprenticeship and an expanded learning apprenticeship. And yes, very busy. Good to see everyone.
Thank you. And Connie.
Hello, everyone. I'm Connie Campbell, and I'm with the Santa Clara County Office of Education, who leads the statewide Residency Technical Assistance Center. And I am the Bay Area support person for districts and institutions of higher education who want to engage in educator residency programming together. And Santa Clara County Office did also just launch their apprenticeship program. So we have a para-educator apprenticeship program that will lead into a residency experience. So thank you for including me.
Of course. And I don't think Sarah Glassband was able to join us. Sarah, are you on? No. Okay. She's with Alameda County Office of Ed. So we've got 3 COE folks, and they are, we'll go into the partnerships that we're anticipating. So thank you, everyone. And Sharon Zimmern has joined us. Sharon, I already introduced you and your role in K-16 and how you're helping with this phase of the ECE EDU regional joint venture. So Sharon, do you just want to
Hi, everybody.
and
Thank
see your
you.
face?
Yeah. Hi, everybody. I want to, thanks for having me.
Sure. And do you have a quick overview maybe of K-16?
So, yeah, absolutely. So one of the summer projects that the K through 16 collaborative is hoping to do is to push out some course maps. So we will have some course maps that are really going to be helping. It's really CCSF tracking to associate degrees of transfer at San Francisco State, but hopefully it's a model. And I'm happy to put them in the chat, or we can follow up with a Kathleen, maybe you and I can discuss how we can push these out so that other community colleges could potentially use it as a prototype to develop course maps to credentials.
Great. Yeah, I think as a model, it would fit for this discussion, and even county offices of ed could use them for both their current and existing and future staff. So, great. Thank you, Sharon. And Sharon used to be with San Francisco Unified School District for many years. So she has that practical experience also being with a large urban school district. We're going to go next. This is a very quick reminder. You will all get a copy of this PowerPoint. So this is just a reminder of our upcoming meetings. You're allowed to miss one meeting, but if you do miss, you have to swear that you will sit in a padded room and listen to the recording without interruptions. And then we have our Future Summit, and we will have a live meeting there at the Future Summit. And we will be doing one more in-person meeting later in the fall, date to be announced. I'll try to get something that's either convenient for all of you or something many of you are already going to. So I want to leave it flexible for now. And your to-dos here include return your contracts. You just got emails from BACCC. I sent you all the other things. So make sure you've signed and returned things. Make sure, I think you've all registered for the Future Summit, but if you haven't, please do. You submit your first invoice to me after the summit, and we can talk about that process at the summit. And then, I send out a lot of emails. So I would ask that this group, especially, you're all on my email list, but go back. There's probably 4 from 2026 you may want to just reread, because I'm not going to announce every single thing I've put out in the email list, but you can just go look and see what might be important to you or what some of the announcements were. And you'll have time during this agenda to maybe add additional information from your perspective, or add different priorities. So again, you'll get this slide. So those are dates, times, expectations, etc. And I think you all know this, but it's just a reminder. We're not meeting in July, and our August meeting is late in the month, so hopefully you can all be there. Okay? Okay. Next one, we're going to be on time or early today. So I'm going to go through this quickly. So this is our overview. And just to say that the ECE and EDU regional joint venture has been supported by BACCC, Bay Area Community College Consortium, since 2018. It's one of the longest running regional joint ventures we've had. It's been refunded 4 times, 5 times. And that's not just because I asked for the money, but it's because our sector has been struggling finding workforce members, has been highly enrolled, was severely impacted by COVID, and continues to be a high need sector. So it's high need in many areas, and we'll talk about what those metrics are. But so we're funded, and I'm glad and very proud that all of you are actually funded to be here. It's hard for me to ask people who are already busy to do things. So I'm happy that there's funding for all of you. And we are funded not only to prioritize our sector and come up with recommendations and strategies. We do have this AI element that is one of the goals of the region, is to increase AI capacity and competency for faculty and staff across the board in our region. So I hope the Future Summit is both interesting to you and allows you to do that. And you're all leaders in the area, so whatever you learn, you're going to share at your places of employment. So thank you for being willing to kind of stretch this to include AI, but again, it's a priority of the region and the Chancellor's office. We also were as you all know, a Vision 2030 Phase 1 project for the Chancellor. Phase 1 ended in December, and now the State Chancellor's office is in charge of Phase 2. I was in charge of Phase 1. Now we're in Phase 2. If you want any very extensive reading, feel free to read both the summary, and they're linked here, and then the total demonstration project activities. The demonstration project activities is about 30 or 40 pages, but they have recommendations. So, and so does the summary about what our sector needs, what direction we should be going in, and we'll see what happens with those recommendations. Right now, we're really only focusing on the San Francisco Bay Area. We're going to share this with the Chancellor's office, but I don't have any control over what gets prioritized. But all I can hope is that our region leads the way. And we have groups like this saying, yes, across the board, we need more of blah, blah, for our sector. And maybe we can move the needle. So that's the overview. Here's some announcements. We're going to hear more about a sub-regional project that was approved for the East Bay starting July 1. And that's a priority discussion for today. And it's because it's provided strong workforce money for this sector for a sub-region of the San Francisco Bay Area, focusing on the East Bay. You're going to hear more about that and why I think it makes sense to look at all of our subregions and try to get some funding for all of them so we can continue this work on a smaller scale, more intimate scale, sub-regionally, rather than all the community colleges in our region and all the county offices and all the employers. It's smaller. subregions are smaller, they're more intimate, and we'll hear more about that. I'll announce, we did hear from Santa Clara County Office of Ed, but I just want to brag about them a little bit. They and Tulare were the first two programs in the state to have teacher credential apprenticeships. So proud that one of them is in our region, and you'll get a chance to hear more from Santa Clara in a bit. New CAI funding, we did have apprenticeship funding awarded. Recently, Contra Costa College and Gonzales High were the two awardees in our region. Two of only five in our region, by the way. So many people applied, and so many applications were passed, on the scoring, but they ran out of money. So hopefully we will get more money into apprenticeship pathways because you can see in our sector they're popular and they're growing. Right now we have 30 sector apprenticeships in community colleges, 16 in K-12 or county offices of ed, and 12 employer sponsored in our region. We had a COIA grant awarded to OUSD recently for youth apprenticeship in this sector. I just want to mention that the CSUs just passed their first new BA pathways in years, where they have reduced units. And there are three new BA pathways. It's in the announcements in my last newsletter, but one is in education. So we'll see which CSUs decide to offer that. And I heard the reduced units means as few as 90 units. So that just happened. So we'll keep that on the front burner. K-12 SWP money this spring was awarded to Marin ROP College of Marin and Aspire Contra Costa College. Alice, you're on here, both as ACTEP president, but also because she represents us on the new statewide Department of Apprenticeship Standards committee. So she's our rep. She's in our sector, and the only other community college person is Jim Lancaster in Southern California, and he's got a lot of apprenticeships. So she's kind of our rep. So congratulations, Alice. I want to mention that Kate Brown, who many of you know at Skyline, has retired from the CTC committee. She's been the CTC rep for many years. I can't remember how many, but it's been a
13.
long 15. Okay.
13. Yeah.
13. All right. I was going to say it's been a long time. And Cherie Fortan, I had a meeting with her last week. She's indicated that she's the new rep. The chancellor has requested that she be seated. And so she will be representing community colleges on the CTC board, advisory board. So thank you to Kate, and congratulations to Cherie. She's got her work cut out for her this year. So when you see some of our announcements, you'll see why. She did share with me when we met last week that no community college funds were budgeted for 26-27. One of my primary requests or recommendations coming out of phase one was that our ECE and EDU programs be prioritized, and that some kind of funding come out or an RFP. There is nothing yet. And she just said she's, developing a statewide community of practice, is pushing out the PAVE toolkit, which is a CSU community college publication, and that they're waiting to hear about the about AB 2206, which we'll talk about in a bit, to see if they need to identify any funding for that. And so those are the priorities. Okay. And then you'll get a chance to react in about one slide. So, because I want to hear kind of your reactions here. So the broad goals here, I think I've already stated for this committee. We're going to develop strategies for making sure our sector stays prioritized. We have a lot of sectors in the Bay region: manufacturing, AI, computer, all types of computers related sector growth. nursing. I mean, there's just lots of priorities here. Healthcare in our region where we have job shortages and students are interested in entering pathways, but we need to make sure ours stays a priority. We're the fifth highest enrolled sector, and we have still significant job openings and significant need for workforce. We're going to incorporate emerging technologies and AI with our faculty training. I would have to say that some of our faculty are not as proficient in AI as in other sectors. So this is, I think, a good thing for us. We need to come up with strategies for securing funding for teacher preparation at our level, work with our other organizations. So Anthony, Alice, we've got leaders here, Tracy ECE, Peach, some of our other um, coalitions and organizations, how we can use that, um, uh, use those representatives to help us build this kind of movement to keep prioritizing our sector. We have to track legislative proposals and then make sure that our local community colleges are represented. And I think we need funding to do this, but everyone's meeting about teacher shortages, but how do we all attend all these meetings? How do we carve time out? So we have to make that case that our faculty and staff and our representatives are very busy. And so where do we need to form a coalition? These are some of the activities. We're going to talk about sub-regional work. We're going to talk about the future of Teach for the Bay, and that's been an activity that's been funded by this RJV. It ends if we don't have a plan for it, and it's been very well attended. Many of you contributed, you did workshops. It's a way for both students and staff and partners to get information about how to be a teacher in the Bay Area. So how do we keep that? How do we continue to support apprenticeships? And more importantly, link pre-apprenticeships to continuing pathways. How do we continue that momentum? Because they're very disjointed right now. You all know that. I mean, things are not continuous. And our employers are not always situated where our apprenticeships are, et cetera. So how do we keep working on that? How do we continue to work on public pathways, specifically from high school to community colleges to CSUs to UCs? And I really want to prioritize our public pathways. They're here, there are big systems, and we've got to fix some of these bumps in the road. And um, the lack of, I guess, geographic continuity for some of our pathways. How do we expand teacher recruitment efforts, and especially in CTE areas? When you look at this AI issue, where are we going to get our AI high school and community college teachers from? I mean, as these pathways grow, all these teacher shortages are going to impact our sector. Our students want to be teachers, so how do we make sure that we're helping develop teachers where we have classes and where we have priority sectors? And we already know we don't have enough teachers in many fields. Nursing programs have closed statewide because there aren't enough teachers. So we have to match these teacher needs with students and where they want to work. And then address regional credit. I know these are two big things that folks are worried about, credit for prior learning, as well as the top to SIP conversion, and linked dual enrollment pathways. So those are kind of hot items, and we can at least make recommendations. We have to look at the funding we have available, our SWP K-12 money, our strong workforce money, our Perkins, our CAI, and other sources of money that can be used to support our work, and then prioritize the centers of excellence, keeping our data updated so we can apply for grants. The last data dump was done during phase one. the publications are already 2025. They're already a year old. We've got to update them. And so we have to make sure we fight for that. Now, I've given you a lot of stuff, but I just want to hear from you. You'll have all these slides, but based on what we've covered, let me know what resonates. What do you need to elevate ECE and EDU at your institution? And maybe like three things that you've heard, three things that would help. What do your current and future teachers and students need? And what are priorities for our Bay region from your perspective? And let's just popcorn, but give everyone a chance. Just come off mute. You can popcorn. What resonates?
In terms of what current and future teacher students need, I think, especially with the new permit matrix coming, our focus is going to move from certificates to degree completion.
Okay.
And I think I'm probably not alone in saying that most of our students are working with children and are not able to access a lot of the services and resources on campus that could help them pass the math class, pass the English class, pass the science class, etc. And so I've sort of made this my pointing this out to people that this is going to be our priority going forward and trying to get these students through the GE they need to complete degrees and transfer.
Okay.
I want to echo what Alice just said. We're finding the same thing. We just have folks who we can't even help them get the resources if the resources aren't available, let alone the workarounds that most folks are trying to do without the resources. So I think those are going to be some challenges, and having some shared vision around what workarounds we're willing to accommodate and what workarounds detract from the professionalism of our field. So I'm talking about credit for prior learning, credit for exam, CDA, just all of that, those pieces, and how just a shared voice will be helpful in our region. Yeah.
Okay.
I'd like to.
And for our COE folks, this also is relevant for our high school students, but also existing employees, because we have incumbent workers that may need to move through community college in order to meet job requirements. So, okay, anyone else want to speak up?
I think building on what Tina said, it's great to focus on meeting job requirements. Of course, we need to do that. And the North Star is always what's happening with our babies in the classrooms, and so how do we address some of the things that are happening in classrooms as a field? Because when our students are in our classrooms and they're learning about all this beautiful pedagogy, and then in practice they're being treated poorly, or they're seeing children being treated poorly, it's really hard. And retention, we need retention, and that's part of it. I also am interested in the credit for prior learning conversation. I think that's really important. And I think we really need to be speaking critically about online education and the impact of AI. And we have students, I'm just going to say, we have students graduating who aren't doing their work, and they're doing it all with AI, and we're graduating them as teachers. And like, I know that. Anyway, so I'm really concerned about that impact. There's also, I've been learning about both schools like Yale, and also that there's a conversation at CSU and UCs about not having online classes, and Yale apparently only is accepting 2 online classes. I just think that the pendulum is swinging back, and while I think it helps with accessibility, I also think I've got major concerns about where online education has taken us, especially because of the use of AI as it intensifies.
Okay.
Thank you. So with COE ROP's program, we are really starting them as juniors in high school, most of them. So our biggest need, if you want to know how to elevate it, is if any kind of I would just say unified marketing to get the kids into the class. They, whether or not they continue when they graduate, they'll get that first level and they have 12 units of, dual enrollment credit to move on. That piece is successful, getting them into the class and saying that, hey, this is a valued pathway for a career. There's opportunities, and we have the bad junk that comes with education. Oh, you're not going to get paid enough. Oh, this and that. But it's also a path. If hey, I want to later be a speech pathologist. I want to be a
Right.
a pediatrician. So getting that elevation. That's what we would need there. And of course, funding. We have to piece everything together. So I would say those are our major concerns, but otherwise, when we get the kids in, it's been very successful and our partners are doing amazing.
Thank you, Hillary. I think both you at the high school level and the county offices with their current employees and our community colleges all need improved marketing in our region.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah,
and that was the
yeah.
goal of Teach for the Bay, but it also, I think we need to do more.
Mhm.
Um,
Can I add one thing, Kathy, about
mhm,
Teach for the Bay is that I think that there's a lot of ways that we duplicate each other's work, and that
Yeah, I was
I'd
going to say
really
that.
like to see like all of our websites linked to, I don't know, it's probably Teach for the Bay, linked to Teach for the Bay, and we have funding to update that. And
mhm,
that's like folded into some of the work, maybe that Sharon's doing or something like that. But having us all be updating our websites is a big waste of time. And
mhm,
Hmm. Hmm. Everything you all said, I just really echo with, I mean, and what really resonated with me is, Tracy, when you were talking about the high quality placements, because we deal with apprenticeship, but we also deal with work-based learning and internships. And just really, I wish we had a high quality centralized eligibility list for employers, not childcare, but employers, people who are most ready to really mentor and understand what, our pre-apprentices need, which is not just understanding child development is this
mhm,
essential skills and 21st century skill work, employment. Yeah, I have a whole list for you, Kathleen, but also too in growing our teachers, because I do see a mass exodus of wonderful teachers who were in the field for so long and who were those rocks and mentors in certain classrooms. And when they're leaving, I'm noticing more supervision issues with health and safety, which comes around when you have the first 3 years of a teacher. So it's just a lot of things that I'm seeing repeat themselves, which makes me realize I'm older. I'm old now. And I wish. And so I'm like, oh, we've been here before. And so now I feel like we have to figure out how to make things more systemized so that
mhm,
we're not reinventing the wheel and duplicating efforts. I love what Tracy said about maybe linking it to Teach for the Bay, and maybe that is the virtual
mhm,
hub to address some of these things that we are spending our own limited capacity on.
mhm. Okay, thank you,
Uh,
Joya.
yeah.
Any other
Yeah, I'll share some. One
okay,
of the things
Tony?
that I think that we need to stay grounded, echoing a lot of what people are saying in terms of the ramifications of high quality teacher preparation.
Mhm,
And so that we understand at the core of all of this is the children and families in California, so that our programs are actually preparing them for that. I think one of the big challenges we're going to see and we are seeing in terms of pathways is going to be in the transition with the permitting and credentials for those existing teachers. I was
mhm,
having a conversation with the commission just last week talking about where I lost a mentor teacher this last year who got moved up into administration, which often happens in our programs, right? We got our
mhm,
best and brightest teachers, there's an opening in an admin. And what they do quickly is they jump in and maybe take one class in administration and they move them into a different skill set that they see that they can be successful. With the transition for the new permits, what we're going to do is grandfather in a lot of individuals where they can be a teacher of record because of existing permit matrix. But once they get into the new one, if they want to make those transitions into more leadership roles, that is no longer going to be available for them. And so they need to be very aware of what that transition barrier is going to be, much like the
mhm,
transition from permit into
mhm,
credentialing was. We're going to have this gap of leadership within our field that we're really going to feel down the road. And if we're not calling attention to it and addressing it now, we're going to miss out on a lot of that institutional knowledge that we depend on.
Mhm. Yeah.
there's a piece of what you said, Tony, that I want to piggyback on about the quality of the teacher preparation. I'm very encouraged with the CSU's unearthing, some a BA program that leads to a teaching credential in a shorter amount of time.
Mhm.
We've seen the barrier of time and cost to become a
Mhm.
teacher's. I'm just very encouraged by that, and hope that there is a real eye on how a teacher can be prepared in that small of a time frame and number of units. I'm confident that it can be done, but I just hope it's watched carefully.
Yeah. Thank you. Do more faster.
Yeah, I think that all of everything that everyone says, I feel like we're all on the same page for where we all
Mhm.
need to bring everything together. But everything faster, like you were just saying, Kathleen, one of my thoughts is just thinking about that pathway of that dual enrollment, then the community college and the transfer. And if we can start to build those students through a pathway that doesn't have a cost associated with a pre-apprenticeship and
Mhm.
apprenticeship into the higher education system, that's something that I've been trying to focus on for a while. So that's kind of one of those need and perspective that I'm looking towards.
Mhm. Thank you, Melise.
I have a couple of items.
Uh-huh.
Uh, what we're noticing at Cabrillo is that we still need dedicated funding for our educated preparation programming,
Mhm.
implementation, anything. We're willing to apply and 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 but we need that support for students, especially those who need to take practicum.
Mhm.
So we're also looking at private funding to provide supplemental like scholarships for so students can actually take practicum and then and keep their positions as well.
Mhm.
Something I noticed also was the alignment to and responsiveness of the CTC right now is even more critical as we have credentials changing and we have the whole landscape of education is changing. So not just alignment, but also how how we need to respond and how the CTC needs to respond. Um, Health and wellness, what Tracy was mentioning of supporting students in classroom settings. See, I am a coach for CSUMB, and I see it all the time. That there is a disconnect. I've heard some good things about the Greater Good Science Center at Berkeley, so maybe if we can do something all together, that would be awesome. Rather than having every region doing something or sub-region doing something separate. I would love to see something that we could just all attend together. Um, Employers are also saying that they want support, not just for apprentices or for their teacher candidates. They need support for the mentors. And so that includes the ongoing PD. So even though many of our districts are cutting back on teacher certified positions right now, and even classified positions, instructional positions, we still need to make sure that those people who are in the classrooms are being given the support as well as the professional development. So again, it's not just dousing people with professional development; it is making sure that the conditions are workable, safe, healthy, and so everyone's thriving in that setting. A couple of other things, unified websites, absolutely. Teach for the Bay as the hub, yes. Unified the marketing from employers and creating this outreach that is a voice for our region, I think would definitely be a support. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Kim. Anyone else? Did we hear everyone have a chance to chime in? I think so. Okay. Well, thank you for your thoughts. I took notes and we have a recording. I think most of your comments fit under some of our priority buckets. Also, I think the emphasis on marketing those interesting, especially against the backdrop of federal cuts and federal attitude toward teachers. Um, I think that hasn't helped our market. And the lack of a Department of Education and the cutbacks on student loan forgiveness, on and on and on. So, we're on quicksand when it comes to I think federal support. But Thank you. And I will add the notes and try to infuse your comments into either some of the existing objectives or add some new buckets. Your emphasis on quality, I think, is missing from our list. So I'll add that and put some of your comments under there also. Just a quick thing, we don't have to go into this, but I want you to have it, legislation to watch. These are some bills that are in process right now. The Fong bill is interesting, AB 2206, because the Chancellor's Office, if this passes, is going to do a pilot program for a BA degree offering community college to help prepare CTE credential teachers in that field. Now, remember, our sector does not have any BAs in our community colleges because they're already available. CSU has to approve. So these are sectors like manufacturing, um, mortuary science, some of the health fields. We have about 40 BAs now being offered through a community college in CTE areas. This would allow for a college to offer a CTE credential. It would open the door, though, for community colleges to be part of the credential granting approved pathway, but it's a very narrow door, very tiny little door opening. And some of you know that the CTC did issue a Title V addendum shortly after this bill came out, which it's somewhat complicated, but it does not include ACCJC as an accrediting agency as for credential approval, and all community colleges in California are accredited by ACCJC. So that was kind of an interesting memo. It's still being discussed. I know Alice ACTEP is on top of this. Some of us have been getting letters out in support. Um, I can follow up, or Alice, you can follow up with this group with any strategies. It's become a political issue. That's all I'm going to say. But it's interesting timing that CTC issued this Title V change as right after Assembly Bill 2206 was introduced. So some of these other bills would affect us in that there's a one to expand educator apprenticeships, one to look at paid placements, one that increases partnerships between the community college and CSU system, which is, good. Let's hope they're paid partnerships. I think community colleges are always the unpaid partner, but hopefully, this bill will include paid partnerships. And then we have an Alvarez bill, which specifically mentions community colleges as a partner to increase the number of bilingual educators, because we know California has a shortage. So just legislation to follow. And I see that Sarah just came in. You'll have all this legislation. Just take a look at it as it moves through. And I think it could impact our work. Okay, we're going to move to discussion for today. Oh boy, we're almost right on schedule. Sorry, we're pretty good. We're going to look at, my belief is that we do need some money to start to do any of these things. That's what I think. You need funding to really focus on some of the things you mentioned, like a shared website, marketing, having us talk to each other, following legislation, keeping this kind of thing going in our region. So one of the strategies is securing sub-regional funding. And I've got two experts. They're going to talk to you. Sarah joined us from the BACCC, and Joya can support what she's going to say. They're going to talk to you about an action plan that was developed as this RJV winds down. The decision was to go small and let's look at our subregions. And we have lots of subregions. We have East Bay, North Bay, South, Monterey, Santa Cruz, Hartnell's, kind of South County. We have Peninsula and San Francisco. These are small little areas, and there is sub-regional funding that can allow for some of you to meet with each other in a more intimate way and keep some of these ideas going. Um, and I'm gonna keep this slide up here. And Sarah, welcome. Sarah's from BACCC, and maybe Sarah, you can describe why you think a sub-regional emphasis makes sense from the BACCC perspective. And then Joya can fill in with a few of the activities that were proposed. And I'm happy to say the East Bay was funded to do a sub-regional project. So we've got two of our leaders here that can tell you about it, and we want to replicate this in all areas. Before you start, Sarah, I do want to say that Santa Cruz, Monterey, the south part of the region also has a sub-regional funded um, coalition, but it's ending June 30th. And so we need to make sure it gets continued and maybe revitalized and um, include some of these key activities. So Sarah and Joya, Sarah, do you want to introduce yourself and maybe talk about who the East Bay includes?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Sure. Hi, everyone. Yeah, I can give you just a little bit of info
Okay.
on the sub-regional structure, and then Joy, I'll look to you to talk a little bit about the content, if that works. We didn't talk about this beforehand, but
No, we're just
yeah, hi everyone. I'm Sarah Goldware. I am the sub-regional director for the East Bay with the BACCC. I'm also temporarily supporting the San Francisco Peninsula sub-region. So if there are people here who are interested in thinking this through a little bit from there, I'm happy to chat with you outside of this call too. But I was approached by Joya and by Ilona McGriff, who's the director of workforce development at Berkeley City College, to say we have an idea for a sub-regional project. We think that this is like really would be useful to the colleges in our sub-region. The East Bay has 10 colleges, 8 of whom have early childhood or education programs. And it's all the colleges in Alameda and Contra Costa counties. And so, we really framed the project as both a continuation of the great work that Kathleen and you all have been doing for many years with the ECE EDU RJV, but also a sort of a narrowing down of the work. Like if we're going to move sub-regionally, we want to be very specific about our focus on the East Bay and think about the opportunities that presents. So I think, the main opportunities that presents is both for it's like around the students' actual experience in our institutions. Like they really swirl between all the East Bay institutions. I imagine that they go between subregions too, but we're thinking about subregionally. Like we know that colleges that our students don't care where a course is being offered as long as they can get to it and it helps them get to their goal faster. And then also with employers, we know that like there's very specific employers in the East Bay that are going to be different from employers elsewhere. So those are sort of like the two buckets that we're thinking about in this project around like how can we really connect you all, the faculty, with employers and like be in a more efficient way, especially around like all the apprenticeship work you're doing. And then also how can we make sure that students really understand um, how the curriculum at each college, matches each other or doesn't match each other, like make the experience better for students who are swirling. So I think those are sort of
Mhm,
the main two things that are like slightly different around sub-regional work. And then there's all sorts of other great things that Joyo
mhm.
wants to do. And then I would say like another big factor for us is that we had a faculty leader ready to go, excited to work on this work.
Mhm.
Like we wouldn't be here without that. So, very excited to work with Joya on mapping this all out and like making sure that our colleges really benefit from her leadership. So
Thank
I'll
you,
pass it to
Sarah.
Joya. Yeah.
And I'm gonna, before Joyce steps in, I want to add two things. One is that there are 7 regions, right, Sarah?
Yeah.
Oh,
Seven,
yeah, sorry, there are
seven
five.
regions.
Do you want me to give a quick overview on the
Yeah,
sub-regional
because
structure? Yeah,
there
I can do
are
that.
regional leads in
Mhm.
each regional directors, sub-regional directors in the San Francisco Bay Area, and there's sub-regional money. And so the reason why we're also looking at going smaller is because there's a smaller pot of money for the subregion. You've got leadership like Sarah, there's more of her out there for each of your subregions. And there are also what are called K-12 TAPs. Sarah, we've had county offices of ed on here too as part of this, and
Mhm.
linking our high school students and our existing employees to this big effort, I think is better done sub-regionally where it's smaller,
Yeah.
more intimate relationships. Um, yeah, that's all I was. So maybe Sarah, go over the subregions and
Yeah, so there's
the
five,
funding.
sure, there's five subregions in the BACCC. The East Bay is the biggest at 10 colleges, which also
Mhm,
means they have the most money, which is probably one of the reasons we were able to get this through. So that
mhm,
is a challenge. So sub-regional funding is designated, there's 32,000 per college in the subregion.
mhm,
So that means that in the East Bay, we have a lot more to play with than in the subregions that have 4 colleges, right?
mhm,
And there's competing
mhm,
efforts for that money in some cases. So the North Bay is 4 colleges and includes Solano, plus the 3 sort of more obvious North Bay colleges, College of Marin, um, uh,
Napa,
Napa,
Sonoma,
and Santa Rosa.
Santa Rosa. Yeah.
And then the Silicon Valley has 6 colleges in Santa Clara County, and for the most part, plus Gavilan kind of is split in some ways between Santa Cruz, Monterey Bay, and
Mhm,
Silicon Valley.
Oh, yeah.
Santa Cruz, Monterey Bay has 4 colleges. The 3 in or the 2 in Monterey County, Cabrillo, and then Gavilan. And then San Francisco Peninsula is the 3 San Mateo County colleges and City College of San Francisco.
mhm,
So those are the 5, and based on the number of colleges is the amount of subregional funding that they have to work with. So I and the East Bay, we needed a good amount of money to do this because we have 10 colleges worth of faculty that we want to provide
mhm,
stipends for, and we have sort of a bigger need. And I could see in the smaller subregions, you probably need less funding. Uh, Connie, the fifth subregion, I think it was San Francisco Peninsula, the last one I said,
mhm,
which is
That's
the
the one. Thank you. San
yeah,
Francisco.
sure.
mhm,
Mhm. So that's and we have this pot of money and we're using it, the way the subregional structure works is that the colleges and usually it's the CTE deans, directors, managers who are representing the colleges in these
mhm,
conversations set their own priorities for the things they want to work on together as a subregion. And that's those priorities are the things that the subregional funding funds.
mhm,
And in this case, Joya and Kathleen did a really great job sort of um, presenting the case for this being a priority for the East Bay, and many of the CTE deans have encountered their own challenges with, ECE apprenticeships and others, so they understand the case was made to a receptive audience, I would say.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you.
Mhm.
Joy is going to list a few of the activities that were proposed for the East Bay sub-regional work, which is going to be for 2 years. Um, and I do want to tell you that a couple of things you can do right now. I know it's summer, but you can all send emails out. Your CTE dean at your college needs to hear about your needs. So some of the things you expressed here and anything on this slide deck, just make sure that your sector is, the needs of your sector are front and center. I can't tell you how many times CTE deans don't necessarily hear from department chairs, faculty, or partners. And for our K-12s, this is all strong workforce money. It goes through our regional leadership. There are K-12 projects. Um, it's money for our K-12 partners, our county offices of ed, our high schools. It's K-12 money. And there are K-12 um, technical assistance providers, directors at BACCC that you can contact and that you can also, make your needs known. What is needed? How do you make your program more successful? Find out how you apply for this funding. Um, and many of the people on this Zoom have applied for multiple funding sources, and you're very successful. So it's not just what's available through the chancellor's office, but you braid funding daily because unfortunately that's our work. So make sure your CTE deans, your K-12 chaps, your sub-regional leads know, and I've included the BACCC website where you can get all these names, who's your current dean, who the current K-12 TAP is, who the sub-regional leads are. Just a quick email sometime this summer about, hey, our sector has a lot of needs. We're looking at the importance of sub-regional work to continue the sector project. So Joya, I want you to, if you can tap in and describe a few of the things that you have planned for the next 2 years.
Of course, and I can't say that without acknowledging and honoring that we have Alice Hell in our region and we have Sarah Glassman in our region who are part of this advisory group. And, this may be the first sub-regional funded project, but I do hope we do such a good job that all of the sub-regions get funded and we can continue the good work. And I just want to say that our guiding principle is to really enhance our existing efforts and not duplicate efforts, and just understand that it's coming from the premise of high quality student experiences and children experiences too, because we're growing a really high quality educator workforce. So Alice have done a lot of work with ACCTEP. I never can get it right, Alice, excuse me, but listening to faculty and counselors and administrators about the need. And of course, Kathleen, you've done the groundwork too with all of the regional. So we're not starting from scratch. And some of the things that we're hoping to focus on is basically what a lot of you have shared today, and that's our student navigation. What does that look like with them swirling? I know a lot of us have mapped our curriculum to certificates and degrees, but have we engaged in mapping it to actual jobs and making it really clear for students who want to work in different areas of infant and toddler, special needs, TK, preschool? We all know all of that looks different depending on what their job interests are. And then just, basically our shared resources, which came out today, having a virtual space that maybe links to the Teach for the Bay website, and just a regional coordination with this group. And so it's a lot of wonderful ideas, but it's going to take bringing together. We meet with Sarah actually next week. And so as soon as that meeting happens, I was going to reach out to Alice and Sarah with, our meeting. So just know it's not me, but it's definitely, from years of glitches that I've learned from all of you that we all experience. So I just feel like we're stronger together to try to, fit some of these issues, especially since we have AI and Claude and CBC OEI. Like there's just certain things that we should be able to utilize that makes it a lot smoother for our counselors, our students, our faculty in general. And I hope, Kathleen, I wasn't prepared either, but I'm here if anyone has questions. I'm happy to share the proposal. And again, it's just, something that came out of, at 2 a.m. Like, we got to do something about this because we've been in this for a long time. And And I know that we can do it together, especially with this amazing advisory group. So thank you, Kathleen. And I'm just looking forward to it. We have 10 colleges and they're really strong. And I want to point out Contra Costa, who got the CAI grant. So I'm just looking forward to the possibilities and just really creating something that is less fragmented, more systemized, and easier for students to navigate, as well as us. You know, we want to live. There's a lot of
Yeah.
capacity.
So I know in the proposal that you wrote, there were like the concept of having a sub-regional hub was
Yeah,
mentioned where people can all put their resources, and
thank
that
you.
could be Teach for the Bay. We could use that website and
Yeah.
divide it up sub-regionally. It's already there. Continue with sub-regional training. So maybe those are mini Teach for the Bays, mini workshops.
Yeah,
Um,
thank you, Kathleen.
and paying faculty to come to some of these meetings was another
All of it.
proposal
We
item
definitely, yeah, we
that
don't
you
want
put in
anyone working for
there.
free. No one's working for free. Everyone's going to get stipends. That's where the bulk of it is coming from because we need the thought partnership to make this happen. But yeah, the development of shared tools, collaborative
Mhm.
resources, everything that you taught, you kind of kicked it off, Kathleen. All of the things that were mentioned is in that long 13-page
The proposal.
proposal.
Yeah, yeah. And so that is launching July 1. So,
Yeah.
and Sarah's offer of sharing that proposal, and those of you that are in some of the other sub-regions that want to kind of get this started, this conversation started, would be that's one step for getting some money into your college to kind of address some of these things, and getting faculty paid to go to some things, and thinking about how to collaborate around a sub-regional information hub. I do want to add that Kim was part of the Coast Monterey sub-regional proposal. It actually kicked off 2 years ago, but due to staff changes at Hartnell, who was the lead college, and I don't know, just lots of things happened. Staff changes, turnover mostly. Nobody who originally wrote that was remaining. So, uh, hoping that it gets rejuvenated for this upcoming year. Kim, if you want to say anything about
Yeah,
that.
I just wanted to say yes, the my understanding is the grant is closing and
Mhm.
there was a BACCC did reach out to Hartnell to ask if Hartnell wanted to extend and they didn't receive a response. So they're closing, but my understanding too is that they are committed to supporting the work. They
Mhm.
appreciate the work that was done, and hopefully we can, yeah, re-envision and actually do some of that good work that we've been talking about.
Mhm.
So, yeah, thank you for everyone's support. I am concerned about the legislation that's going through. I have been following it, and it doesn't, I don't see funding, I don't see funding in any of those bills coming through. It's just mostly planning, and we need operational funds.
Mhm. Yeah, and that's why this is kind of our low-hanging fruit here, to look for sub-regional funding at least to kick this off. I do want to give a chance for our county office folks to describe from their experience, are there additional fund sources that would prioritize discussions between our county offices and our school districts and our community college districts to move some of this forward? They have, most certainly have access to other funds than we do. So that would be one question I have. And just to be clear, the Kim is referring to Cabrillo College, Monterey College, and Hartnell as partners for this hopefully revived effort. So we'd have two subregions.
Gavilan is also included in that group.
Yeah, part of Gavilan. They're also Santa Clara. So they're, I know they're interesting.
So Kathleen, speaking
Yes.
for us at the Contra Costa County Office of Ed, yes, we
Hmm.
received the CAI grant. That's the first one is closing, but we still have the pre-apprenticeship program. So,
Right.
there are small funds, but most of it's allocated, right?
Hmm.
Um, K-12 has major deficits,
Right.
major deficits. My own program for our general CTE has $1 million deficit from last
Yeah.
year as far as kids. So we are lean, we are tight. The monies is just like the CAI. When I go after a K-12 strong workforce grant, there are like 4 times more asks than money is available. So
Yeah.
everything is super competitive. Are there funds that we could try to go after? Yes. Is there funds available? No.
Hmm.
So,
Right.
but with that said, with my own staff, things like meetings and convenings, et cetera, like that, they will work that into their hours, their job.
Okay.
So it doesn't, if it's not going to a conference, if it's not traveling, those kind of things, if it's, just local, meet for the day or Zoom, if they're available, we can be there.
Okay. Yeah.
Hillary, we'll make sure to include,
Yeah.
K-12 in those East Bay
Hmm.
conversations. Like it feels like we need to make sure I'll
Yeah.
make a note of that. Yeah.
And I have an apprenticeship coordinator, and I have a youth specialist that specifically work with our early childhood education
Hmm.
programs, and they're coordinating with ECE and Contra Costa College and Los
Yeah.
Mandanos and
Yeah.
YMCA. So
Yeah, you guys are really active in this space, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
They are. And she mentioned also the importance of employers. And I think that's another thing sub-regionally we can do is really narrow down the employers that serve each sub-region. Um, Thank you for the reality check around K-12 ed, but I will tell you that sub-regional work is very attractive for private funders. It's more concise, it's more geographically appealing. Um,
and we've had great relationships and gotten a lot of support from our workforce development board and things like that. Because like I can't pay for student salaries, and so we're able to get those connections. So there are funding sources. It's just like I said, especially just like when you're talking the grant monies, those kind of
right,
things, they're drying up.
right. Thank you, Hillary. Tracy.
Yes, thanks. So we are actually in the process of revamping. I'm putting this in the chat too, but we're revamping the Teach for the Bay website, and Kathy is hiring you for web consultant because I cannot figure the Squarespace out. And so we would love any collateral you would like photos, videos, things we can work with to make it as engaging as we can. And then I really would love to hear people's ideas, and I can send a follow-up email or like a short survey or something. But what would you like to be on there? Because it's both student facing and faculty facing. And we have all the apprentice leads on there, but we really want a website that needs less updating of the actual people, but connections to basically we would want to connect to child development at City College as opposed to Tracy Burt at City College. So because there's, we move around. So, and we have to figure out how it's going to be updated longer term, which is another question. But I have been looking a lot at like the teachcalifornia.org website and that kind of thing. But so I would love to know what kind of resources would be similar for all of us that we could link to. And there would be some regional resources and sub-regional resources as well. What we don't want is we don't want to be updating multiple pages with different kinds of information, because then inevitably things don't get updated, and then there's contradiction. And then we have to figure out how to help people find the resources and that kind of thing.
And again, it's not just about us, it's all the students we serve, high school, community college, returning employees, current employees, returning adults, how they become teachers at all levels in our region. So
Yeah.
it has to link to statewide resources, local. We need to add lots of things to it. And that's something that I think
Tracy, one of the things I'm thinking about as you're talking through that is just in like how we explain our field to our students and just anyone in general. So I wonder if there's a way for us to consistently organize information resources, Title 22, Title 5, paraprofessional, special education, credentialed teachers. Like the more we have that consistent, I know there's silos, and I know that the work that we do is not siloed, but when you're just starting out or you're trying to access information that's the most relevant to you, I think those silos help, and they keep identifying the different job categories in our field, right? So, and of course, there's going to be some that are consistent across, but they're not going to be, or there's going to be some that's for all early educators, right? But if you're a Title 22 teacher, what do you really need to know? What do you really need to know for a Title 5? What are the really relevant resources? Paras, right? Again, some general pieces. Credentialed teachers, and in that we can have our higher ed partners, we can have our community resources, our R&Rs, again, family childcare, another silo that's different than all of those. But in those kind of categories, and making them just really obvious, like, I don't know what teacher I want to be, but now I'm seeing 4 or 5 titles that I can click on, and it gives me something to think about if I didn't know what that title was.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, I think that I think that is more ambitious than what I've been, way more ambitious than what I've been thinking we would do at Teach for the Bay, because all of those areas are their own they require a deep expertise. I think that's one of the most challenging things about being in our field is like the deep expertise in whether it's family child care or early childhood or center-based care, being a paraeducator. And so I would rather I think the idea of if we could like together, I think collaboratively we could come up with a structure that makes more sense, that would be more accessible for students. Um, and if it's also if there are ways to refer people to family child care resources in the subregions
Right.
or regionally, I think that would make a lot of sense as opposed to having all that information on there because it changes so much and that kind of thing.
Okay.
Sorry. That's what
I
I meant.
also
Like the links
Okay,
to,
cool.
so like we're just updating links. Like you're not putting content. You're just like,
Got it,
here
got it.
are
Okay,
a
we're on the
list of
same page.
resources for family childcare. Here's a
Yeah,
list of resources for
Right.
center-based private, school. Here, yeah, that way.
yeah.
It's not
Be
like
great.
content creation.
Yeah.
I'm going to include all of your emails on the title page because I just have your name. Sorry. So I'll include everyone's emails. And I think Tracy did do a call out for pictures, content that you may have. I know we have a video from Joya about her graduation with lots of student faces.
Yeah.
Any current, things like that that we can plop in the website that would make it look more attractive. And that's one ask. But I want to bring us also back to this sub-regional funding idea. Those of you who are in other subregions like Far North and Peninsula, and I know South County's kind of in a hold, but they'll be talking, and Santa Clara. What are your thoughts about trying to get sub-regional funds for this next go around? And are you all willing to make some emails?
I'm actually meeting with Araceli Nunez tomorrow.
Okay.
So this is really and it all just kind of came together. I didn't quite understand that that was what the subregion part was. She was talking to me about it. So this is going to be
Well,
very
we talked to her
helpful.
first.
Yes, this will be very helpful for meeting tomorrow. So thank you. I just wanted to thank you for putting this all together. She's also going to meet with our dean. So any suggestions on how that kind of subregion request went forward? I think that
Mhm.
Joy, your format, she sent it to me, so I did look it over to kind of
Mhm.
get a brief understanding of it. But anything you want to share so that I have some information going into it would be great.
Of course. And a lot of this kind of builds on the work of First Five Alameda County when we first got Prop 10 passed, where we had like this regional um, online calendar of events, conferences, professional trainings, which I know that's something that does have to be updated frequently, Tracy. So listening to you, I was thinking it's definitely a link to the resource. And I feel like, Teach for the Bay can be like the virtual hub to find it. But I can't find resources on if I just want to be an infant and toddler teacher or I just want to be a preschool teacher.
Right.
It's so because even when you talk about marketing, it's like a systems like how do we regionally or sub-regionally market for, so I have great ideas, but I do think this thought partnership, like I'm so grateful, Kathleen, for this advisory group because I do think it's going to really support sub-regionally
Hmm.
too. And I'm looking forward to meeting with our sub-regional partners. So it doesn't kick off because we all have our online websites already. And so if you
Hmm.
could wave a magic wand, what is it that you would do
Yeah.
differently? But I do hope we can link to each other. So maybe it's a template format or something where it's just so crystal clear to the students navigating and who are swirling.
Hmm.
I'm pretty, but the, yeah.
Would it make sense for Melise, Tony, you're in
Mm.
that subregion, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say that. Thank you for letting me have a pizza party in your center, Melise, on Friday.
No, you're welcome. I'm sorry. I'm like the bathroom situation wasn't the greatest there and everything was a
It worked
mess.
out for me. It was fine.
And the heating. I'm sorry about that. We are actually closed on Fridays and the AC wasn't on, so I apologize
Oh
for that as well.
no.
And
We had a great time. But I was
That's
gonna,
great.
just as you're thinking about what Joy is talking about, be
hmm
aware too that the commission is currently spending some money to rewrite the PGA handbook and do all of the statewide training for pathways for students.
hmm
Making sure that those things are in alignment because a lot of that work is being done, and I think that they're gonna, they're taking the lead on a lot of that, and to
Right.
just be aware of that. And then sub-regionally, obviously, what it looks like in terms of direct job placement is where our voice needs to be really active.
Yeah.
Right.
Job
But
placement.
yeah, but Melise, if when you're talking to them and you're talking about a regional, yeah, make
Yes,
sure
now I'm
you throw my name
realizing,
in there.
yeah, I will. I
Yeah.
realize that they're coming up to talk to our CTE dean tomorrow, so she just
Uh-huh.
reached out to me, and so now I have a better understanding. So I'll be able to try and loop all of us in, and then reach out to our other
hmm
community college
I'm very
partners.
close with my CTE dean. I actually was on
Yeah.
his hiring committee because I was advised by Kate Brown to make that your best friend as an ECE professor. I mean, this is 15 years ago when I was first hired. She taught me that. And so
That's a
Pleasure.
good
I
piece of
hired her.
advice.
I,
I
I think the other piece we have to talk about and is what kind of support, information, whatever we can provide to counseling.
hmm
Yeah.
Because I think that's where not
Right.
only can students find out a lot, but students can also get derailed.
Yes.
And
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I would love to see dedicated counselors everywhere. Um, but lacking that, at least having clear information for counselors
Yeah.
about pathways, jobs, and that's a PR job as well because many of them are used to thinking of it as a low-paying field. Though I was reading an article the other day about computer science majors who can't get jobs because AI
Right.
is taking over the coding and
Right.
development piece. And I thought, well, AI is not going to take over preschools, at least not
No,
yet.
it's not.
Um,
They're gonna
so
try. I mean,
yeah,
I'll be the sky is falling person, but they're gonna try.
they're definitely going to try. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Um, somebody showed that robot that went out on a press that Melania Trump did a press conference with, and I saw a bunch of posts on social media about, oh yeah, put that in my third grade class, see how long it lasts.
That's funny.
Anyway, I think also trying to leverage counselors as
Mhm.
as a partner in all of this is
Yeah.
something we can think about.
So
Well,
I
we
just
can
put a
also,
link.
oh,
Oh, sorry, I put a link in the chat of a map that I was working on this year that we're just starting to use about the two pathways we have inside our department. And so, Kathy knows we've worked on so many maps over the years, but this is the one of the first ones I'm like, oh, I like it actually. And all of them have, all the certificates have in their description which permit level currently that they align with and all of that. But I'm hoping this can be a really good resource for our students and our counselors for sure.
in our region, if everyone had a map that was similar, we could just put the link on the Teach for the Bay website to everyone's college map. And
Yeah.
that will
I think
tell
our
us,
certificates are different, so those are the ones that
yeah,
are
yeah.
aligned. But still, yeah,
That
if
would
we
tell a
had those
story.
maps, yeah.
Yeah. And I think one thing that Teach for the Bay can do too is, once there's a virtual workshop that people attend, we can record it, stick it on the website, and it
Exactly.
can be like Counseling 101 for
Yeah.
ECE EDU students, and it'll be there
Yeah.
forever until things change. So,
Um, one thing I did on for our campus is I just did, and I wanted to do more, and then of course ran out of time. But I did like an interview with the director of the CSU East Bay Human Development Program about what what is that program? What do you do there? Careers does it prepare you for? How should a student who wants to go there? What degrees lead to that? And all sorts of stuff like that. I also did one with Advance.
Mhm.
And that could be something, if we could do that maybe on a regional basis with all of the 4 years,
Four-year
talking
college.
about their programs,
Yeah.
here's what what the degrees are that
Great.
lead to this, what are the
Mhm.
careers that come out of this, what are the next steps in terms of credentials, what do you do? Because I had a question one time from a student about, well, what's different if I go into human development at CSU? What's different? Oh, I take all the same classes.
Right.
Really answering those kinds of questions.
Mhm.
I think that could be really useful.
Great.
Could all
That'd be
post them.
great.
I also think like workshops like Alice, the one that you and I did at Teach for the Bay a couple years ago, that's a really basic workshop. And then there were, short 5 or 7 minute presentations from many different CSUs in the Bay. Like those are the kinds of things we could link to on our YouTube channel. We have a YouTube channel for Teach for the Bay. We might as
Yeah,
well use it.
and it'll live there forever. Okay, we have 2 or 3 minutes left. I promise to end this on time. So I have I'm going to add your comments and your priorities to this discussion. I have an ask for all of you that you um, figure out who your CTE dean is, take Anthony's lead and become best friends with your CTE dean. And for your subregions, so Melise, Anthony, you've got some key people here. Santa Clara, we don't have a college who was able to be on this committee, but we have how many colleges in Santa Clara? 6, 7. So I'll try to hook you up with people that were interested but couldn't be on this. Find out who your county office reps are. For instance, Napa County office wants to do an apprenticeship. Um, and they're part of this, kind of sub-regional discussion. So we've got all these disjointed people who are interested in all these pathways. So one of your assignments is find out who your college dean is and say, hey, we need more money. We need more support. These are the reasons why. This is what we're doing. Talk to your K-12 partners, especially your county offices of ed, about what they need. Just do some outreach. Look at the BACCC resource list and who your aligned partners are, who your K-12 TAPs are, who your directors of the subregion are. Sarah's on here, so I'll include her email when I send this out. Sarah, if you're okay with me adding that, you can be a resource. People want to know, hey, how'd they do this? Sarah and Joya were there at the beginning, so
Yeah,
um,
definitely. And I talk to my sub-regional director colleagues all the time. So,
right.
We can
Yeah.
strategize.
And if there's just even if it's some money, to keep this kind of regional discussion going. Lots of suggestions for Teach for the Bay. Tracy, Jerica, and I are going to meet on Monday, so we'll have to remember some of these suggestions and how we can fit that in. Um, and we meet again toward the end of June. We'll have another priority discussion area. I think it probably should be Teach for the Bay and website marketing based on discussions today. But let's see. Hopefully nothing big will break and then we'll have to address another crisis. Follow this legislation and take a look at this PowerPoint. Okay, I think I'm at a few minutes. Anyone else want to add anything while we have a few more minutes before we conclude?
That you're amazing, Kathleen. Thank you for bringing us
Yeah.
all together.
Yes, thank
Oh,
you,
well, you guys are
Kathleen.
amazing. You represent a brain trust. And I want to make sure we use, I don't want to say this, that sounded mean. We use our County Office of Ed partners on here. We have 3 of them, Alameda, Santa Clara, and Contra Costa, big partners to do brain trusting about high school students and current employees and how we're going to integrate pathways. So thank you all.
Yeah.
I will see you later in June and email me if you forgot to say something. But thank you all. Melise, good luck tomorrow. Tony, you're there in spirit, I'm sure. And you guys should reach out to Napa. Because if that's going to happen, we need,
And Marin, I've got to connect with them
that's
too.
right.
So.
Nap
But I'll
and-
hear from her tomorrow and then be able to
Okay.
kind of blanch out to everybody.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you
Thank
all.
you,
Thanks.
everyone. Thank you.
Bye.